Ladies and gentlemen, who's taking over the NFC North? Let me call my friend X Factor Mike. What is the realistic outcome of the NFC North? And Mike and I, we think that the Vikings will be number 4 in the division. And for me, I think that it will be like that because they have a brand new QB. They drafted J.J. McCarthy, but he will probably not start off. They're going to have Benedict Darnold starting. And of course, they do have their prime time receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, which will be pretty good targets for them. However, you basically got a brand new QB in that offense, so they will be pretty beatable, I think. So it will be kind of close between them and the Bears, but we think that the Vikings will be in that spot. And Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with the whole QB situation. I also am being a quarterback myself. I've always said a quarterback's best friend is what he has around him. And the biggest concern is the running game. Who are they really going to have behind whoever the quarterback ends up being to help them? Because a passing best friend is having an efficient running game. And when you don't have that type of skill set behind you, or there's question marks behind you, every team's going to know to just be in coverage and get ready to take the ball away from the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who their running back is this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. And then I would also say their defense is very suspect because you have a nice blend of young corners and you got young secondary, but that front seven is very old and aging, and they have given up a lot of stuff, especially from last year.
All right, now moving on to number 3, the Chicago Bears. And we think they are going to stand in the number 3 spot because they basically got a brand new quarterback. They picked this guy on the very first round. What's his name? Caleb Williams. I think there's going to be a great deal of growing pains. Brand new quarterback with a brand new offense. Their offense is going to be completely different with the new receivers put in place. And I think that Caleb Williams is going to get sacked quite a bit. He's going to throw several interceptions. It's going to be really rough from the get-go. I know some people out there are like, oh, well, he has Rome Odunze, so they're going to be this electric offense. And Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, so they're automatically going to be this playoff contender. And I mean, I think the Bears are still going to be embarrassing. Let's just put it that way. And Mike, what do you think?
I think, what was that Cardinals coach? Coach Danny Green or Dennis Green or whatever his name was saying, they are who they thought they were. And I think they're definitely the number 3 team because of the fact they're going to go through a lot of growing pains this year. Yeah, they got some good receivers around Caleb Williams, but the problem is that quarterback's going to have a lot of pressure on him. He's going to have the expectations of being the face of the Bears, and that's going to hurt him a lot because you got basically a brand new coach coming in saying, hey, Caleb, you are going to throw it to X receiver. And that's going to be a problem is that they're not going to just give him the keys to the kingdom. They're going to tell him, hey, hit this guy on this play. Hey, hit this guy on this play. They're going to gradually give him all the keys to the kingdom, but it won't be this year. I think that he's going to get a nice taste of what it is to be in the NFL, and then he's going to lose some games, which is going to be in his favor going forward as long as the Bears don't do what the Bears normally do, and they try to fire everybody when they're trying to develop a team around Caleb Williams. And then I would say their defense, it's still one of those leaky defenses, but I think especially with a new coach, a new scheme, it's going to be some growing pains on defense as well, but it's not going to be as bad as it's going to be on offense.
And number 2, it's going to be very close between the Packers and the Lions, but we choose the Detroit Lions. The Lions are still a contending team, and they have boosted up their safety room. They picked up I have no idea what his name is, but they picked up the guy. Their very first pick was a safety, or not a safety, a corner. It was a corner, right? A corner.
Yep.
And so that would improve their defense, which I think that they felt that was their weakness. And for the most part, they really have the same team if you look at them on paper. So it's just how it's going to be. They're going to be a tough team.
Yeah. I think Detroit, I think the biggest concern is a lot of the guys that they let go because of cap strength. They let go of a lot of their corners, which their secondary room is going to take a huge hit because there's not been a real corner that has stepped in after being drafted and knew everything. It's been a long time since we've seen one of those, because even Richard Sherman wasn't Richard Sherman until about the second year of his illustrious career. But for Detroit, the toughest thing is their schedule, because they're facing all the number ones in the league on their schedule, and it's really going to be tough. And then on top of that, they got to look right beside them on the west side of Detroit at Green Bay. And Green Bay is going to be one of those monsters that they're going to have to face at the end of the year. They would have been better if they would have faced at least one time early in the season and got ready, because now they got to go face them, face a couple of teams, and then face them again. And that's not going to be in their favor this season. So I do believe they're a contender. I see them as being one of the wild card teams because of the season being the way it's going to end up. But I don't see them winning the division because Green Bay did we're going to talk about it in a second, but Green Bay has definitely resurged back to that number one position.
Right. And number 1, the Green Bay Packers, my team. And the reason why I picked Green Bay to be number 1, not just because they're my team, but I feel like they made all the necessary improvements during the draft, during the free agency. They went out and they got rid of Joe Barry, who was the defensive coach of the 0-16 Lions, and they pick up Jeff Hafley. They're going to have a much more aggressive defense. They picked up Xavier McKinley, a top safety, and then they pick up a bunch of linebackers in the draft. Edgerrin Cooper, very young and fast. They're going to be, I think they're going to be a transformational team on defense. I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on the defense. They're not going to expect the Packers to have this great defense, and should be interesting. And then you have a young receiving core who will be, they will have another year under their belt for this upcoming season. So there's no telling what the offense can do. But I think the offense really started clicking towards the middle half of last season.
Yep.
But then you have a defense that was shit that's going to be a little bit better. Now they have all these number 1 picks on defense. So when you have a coach that knows what he's doing, and it seems like he knows what he's doing, it's going to transform the team. And to me, the only real question is what's going on with the kicking situation, because, what's his name? Anders Carlson. He's missed every single game. It seems like he missed at least one extra point or field goal, and that basically cost them the game in the Niners game.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah. So what I think about the Green Bay Packers, I've been in agreement with this whole division outlook. Green Bay is number 1. The reason why is because out of the number 2s in the NFC, they're one of the strongest of all of them. because that young receiving core, there's not – I always say this to you, Vinny, but your team always – they don't have a true number one. And what I mean a true number one is like no matter what, the quarterback is going his way. Even if he's triple covered, he's still going to try to trust that he's going to get open. No, he doesn't do that. I've seen games where you have one receiver catching all the passes, and then the next game it's another receiver, and it had a nice little rotation of who was the best receiver each game. I saw last year what your coach did was they didn't let Jordan Love take over games until, like you said, middle of the season. I started seeing a lot of the shackles coming off of Jordan Love, and they were allowing him to throw it a lot more. And I thought that was a good thing that they gave him just a little taste, a little sample, and then they were like, hey, we got a chance to make in the playoffs now. Let's see what Jordan Love can do.
Yeah. And
since him, they're going to live or die by him. And he did really well. He did well against the Cowboys in the playoffs, and then he did decently against the 49ers. Like you said, the kicker had some woes all season, and it showed its ugly side in the playoffs. But,
they basically took the training wheels off the guy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, oh, man, Jordan Love is pretty good. After so many weeks of people saying, oh, Jordan Love is not so good. So that was interesting just to see that,
Right. And then I think the defense is the biggest question only because there's a lot. If you look at their roster, they are the youngest team in the NFL, but that defense just got even younger. And the biggest thing with a new coach and a new scheme and a new vision on how they're going to do their defense, it's going to take some time. And then you got some of those guys from last year that played very, very well. What's his name? Valentine, Van Ness, isn't that one of the guys you got?
Van Ness, yeah. But the difference between this season and last season, all these defensive guys showed up to practices early. That hasn't happened before in the past. Jair Alexander never showed up this early. So for them to be this excited and putting in that work, I see the videos on Instagram, is ridiculous. They're going to be a much better defense, I think. Much more aggressive. They might have way more turnovers. I expect to see way more interceptions and fumbles.
I can see ESPN for the first, I would say, 5 weeks. They're going to talk about Green Bay's defense and allowing a lot of leakage in their defense because they're going through a period of where Joe Barry was very cushioned in the secondary.
Yeah, that soft defense.
Was playing very soft and not trying to give up so much over top, whereas this defense now is going to be a lot more of a blitz package. They're going to give up a play if none of these guys are quick, fast, in a hurry. And you're going to see a lot of that in the first couple of games. You're going to see them give up a big play or two. But come the middle of the season when everything starts to settle out, I see this defense being still aggressive, especially in the front seven. But they're not going to give up a lot of the big plays as they were earlier in the season. And obviously the offense is going to do good. They got a good rotation of running backs. They got a good rotation of wide receivers. Jordan Love's going to do okay. O-line is pretty much one of the only ones in the NFL that have pretty much stayed together for the most part. So I think it's a safe bet if you were going to Vegas right now to put money on Green Bay being the number one team in the NFC North, maybe even the NFC.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be an exciting year. So, just to recap. So, number 4, the Vikings. Number 3, the Chicago Bears. Number 2, the Detroit Lions. And number 1, the Green Bay Packers. So, this is the very first video. So, hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you all next time. And go Cadillac. Have a nice day on YouTube.
Yep.